Hello, and thank you all once again for tuning into another episode of About My Father's Business Thursdays, where I like to interview Christian business owners, coaches, leaders, authors of all kind. Like I always say, we need all the help and exposure that we can get, and not just necessarily for business purposes, but these become tools that we can use throughout our life, throughout our Christian life, understanding God, understanding ourselves, understanding the people around us. And so not only do I want to give Christian businesses a little opportunity for exposure, but I also want to offer my viewers an opportunity to kind of grab a hold to some tools or some resources that they might need in their life or whatever might be going on at the time. So but today I have a special guest with me. Her name is Detola. I will bring her out in just a moment. But before I do, and let me add that we're going to talk about the power of journaling. And this is a very dear topic to my heart, so I'm excited to get into it. But before I bring her out, I just want to let you guys know to please like, follow, and share my content. I am on LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Instagram. I think that's all of them. Go ahead and like and follow, and of course share my content, because of course if nobody knows that it's out there, it's going to be very difficult for them to grab a hold of those resources. And if nothing else, just get a little bit of inspiration and motivation for today. You can also find my show on Google Play Store and Apple Store under the Entertainment Theater app. And you can also find other independent creators, podcast hosts, and other shows and content on those platforms, on that platform as well. So go to Google Play Store, Apple Store, download or look up the Entertainment Theater app and download that. And you guys go ahead and check it out and support us independent people trying to do stuff on our own. So, all right. So let's go ahead and bring out my guest. Her name is, again, Detola. I'm pretty sure, hopefully I said that correctly.
Yes, you did.
Yeah, thank you for joining me today. I really appreciate you reaching out to me. You contacted me about being on the show. The topic that you wanted to discuss was just right up my alley. I've been journaling since I can remember, and so I really understand what you're talking about on a deeper level. But before we go into that, can you just let people know a little bit about who you are and what you do?
So, hi everyone, and hi Stephanie. Thank you so much for having me on your podcast. It's a privilege and an honor to be here. I don't take it lightly at all. So, like you rightly said, my name is Detola Amure. I'm married and I've got 4 children. One of them lives in heaven. I live in the UK, so the other side of the pond from you. Um, when people ask me who I am, I always love to share my attributes or things that I feel have helped me in my life. And what I always love to say is that I'm driven. A lot of people have also told me that they see me as an activator. And basically what that means is I activate people, especially women, into living a life of significance, a life of purpose. So that is almost like my mandate, and that is what I tend to do anywhere I go, whoever I meet. Even if we don't have a business relationship, I feel like I've been placed on this earth to activate people into a life of purpose and significance. So that's, in a very nutshell, a little bit about me. I'm sure we'll get to talk a bit more. Yeah.
Yeah. So one thing, I guess, well, not one thing, a few things that people should know. Number one is that you are a coach. You are a certified coach, and you are a productivity and leadership coach.
Yes.
Can you talk a little bit about that?
Right. So what I do in my coaching practice is, which I started, in fact, 10 years this year in February. And what we do in Super Working Mom, that's the name of the organization, is to basically help and empower overwhelmed kingdom women and mothers, women of faith, the Christian faith, on how to find purpose and how to maximize their time so that they can manifest their dreams. And we do that through various ways. One-on-one coaching. We have a Super Working Mom Academy where we mentor and coach women in a group setting online. We have retreats, physical and virtual retreats. We've got books and journals that I've created. So that's how we kind of help women. Most of the work we do is online. So we have women all over the world that we serve. And the key thing again is to help them find purpose, make sure that they are living that life of purpose. And if you think about it, I know you're a mom. We're talking about mom and mom stuff before we
Yeah,
jumped on
yeah,
the
yeah,
podcast. How we're trying to juggle life, juggle family, work, career, and all of these other amazing roles that we have. And where I come in, or where Super Working Mom comes in, is to help you not manage, we tend to say maximize your time
mm,
so that you are fulfilling all these roles that God has given you in a beautiful way, um, based on the priorities or the season of life that you're in. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Wow, wow. So now let's talk a little bit about, because you talked about the journals and the books,
Yeah.
and one of the reasons that we were talking earlier, one of the reasons why we're interested in having you come on is because you talked about journaling. And so
Yeah.
one of the books that you have, you talk about journaling and the power of journaling. And
Yeah.
so can you go into that a little bit and bring in the how you got into this, because this is a really big piece of that story.
Yeah. So I got into journaling at a very young age. My mom used to keep journals. She used to write her dreams. She used to write stuff, and sometimes I would sneak and I hope she's not listening. I would read some of her journals, and so it was from seeing her write that I started that practice. I mean, as a child, it was more of me keeping a diary. Oh, I did this today, or I did that yesterday. So that was the format that I knew that I started off as. But then with time, as I grew older, I started to write my prayers to God, or things that I felt He was teaching me, or things that I would learn in the Bible. I started doing that. I started recording my testimonies, my struggles, and I would look back on those journals to see how God helped me with a particular challenge. And that would, encourage me when I'm in a season of, trying season. And I used to do journaling on and off for various number of years. But then around 2015, I picked it up again, and this time I was more consistent with my journaling. And I found that with journaling, it helped me with a number of things. I was I was able to track my gratitude. I was able to write what I was grateful for. I found that I was more in tune with God, because during my Bible studying time or during my quiet time, I would write what I felt the Lord was saying to me, and I could always go back to read on those things. It also helped me to worry less, because again, I could see a track record of how God always showed up for me. Now, interestingly, and so before I get into what I was about to say, because I was getting all of these benefits from journaling, I thought, you know what? I think I'm going to start creating journals to help women in my community, um, be able to write down what they're grateful for, be able to write down their prayer requests, their testimonies. And so I created my first journal in 2015, I think, and
Hmm.
it did really well. But I found out that people were still struggling with the concept of journaling. Like, is it just writing a diary? And so that's
Okay.
why I wrote the book
Okay.
on
Okay.
journaling. And in recent times, when I actually again saw the benefits was when I lost my baby boy. He passed away in 2018. And for a long time, I couldn't pray. I was in so much pain. I couldn't pray. I couldn't even journal initially. I was in a numb state. But gradually, with time, I found out that I still couldn't verbalize my prayers, but I was able to go back to my journaling, and I will write my thoughts, the things I couldn't share with people, the deep thoughts of my heart. I will write it down in my journal. Sometimes I would write down what I felt God was telling me in that season. And so that helped me come out of that season. It was a very dark season, but journaling saved me and it helped me. Yeah.
Wow. Wow. Now I have a very, I mean, for like you say, you kind of saw your mother journaling when you were younger, and it kind of instilled this idea of you to do it. I personally didn't see anybody journaling. I just started writing from
Mm,
the time that I was a kid. And at one point, I had a journal that was well over 2,000 pages.
wow.
Through my teenage years, I eventually um, got destroyed it because it was like significant for me to kind of I moved past those things, and
Mm,
so I didn't want to keep going back to them. But journaling has been a very, very big part of my life,
Mm.
actually. And so I can really, really relate to you
Yeah.
when it comes to that, because there are things that, I talk a lot about the mind and how
Yeah.
our mind essentially is just processing information.
Yep.
And processing information is simply extracting meaning from our experiences.
Yes.
And that's why when people go through hard things, what is one of the first things they ask? Why?
Yeah.
Because your mind wants to extract something meaningful from
Mm.
that experience. And a lot of hard things that people go through, they kind of counter it with something positive. So if their
Mm.
son passed away, their why becomes, okay, say their son passed away from a drunk driver. Now they want to
Mm.
help create legislation to,
Mm-hmm.
help. So that's the why. So
Yeah.
they're trying to get a why out of that,
Out
some
of that. Yeah.
meaningful thing out of the experience. And so that's what our mind is constantly doing, all day, every day,
Processing.
constantly. Yeah. And it's difficult to keep track of that, everything that's going on
Yep.
in your mind, and
Yeah.
to really grab a hold to something meaningful. And that's what journaling helps you do.
Yeah.
Journaling helps you kind of take all the noise and filter it into a place
Exactly.
where you can actually start to process what you're going through and then walk away from it with something meaningful. And so
Yeah.
I'm a big, big fan of journaling.
Yeah.
Very
I
big
I
fan of
like what you
journaling.
just said there. And one
Yeah.
thing I always tell my clients and the ladies in my community is our brain or mind, sometimes we interchange both,
Yeah.
was not meant to store problems. It was
Yeah.
meant to solve problems. But what
Oh,
many of us do
wow.
is, because we're not writing it down, our mind is just, there's just this chaos going on in our brain
Yeah.
or in our
Yeah.
minds, and we're way down. But I
Mm.
always tell them, do a brain dump. That's one of the
Mm.
first. When you feel overwhelmed, do a brain dump. Write down, what are the things plaguing my mind right now? What is weighing
Yeah.
me down? And when you write it down, you almost feel like there's this release. You feel
Mm.
lighter, like, okay, now that it's on paper, what can I do about it? But as long as
Mm.
it's in your mind, it's gonna like almost blow up in your mind, and it's
Yeah.
bigger than
Yeah.
how it should be. But once
Yeah.
you write it down, then there's a possibility that your mind begins to go into solution mode rather than storage mode and overwhelm mode. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, that's a
Mm.
really good point, because it's like a hamster wheel. Like you just keep
Exactly.
going around. Yeah,
Yeah.
and so that's I mean, even for me, like when you were talking about going through very, very difficult things, and I'm really sorry to hear about the loss of your son, and I
Mm.
personally can't imagine that myself. But I can see how, even from my own experiences, when I went through very, very hard things, I like, and I want you to speak to that a little bit. How you get to a place where you cannot pray, like
Mm.
you can't verbalize your prayers. Can you talk about that just a little bit, as far as like
Mm.
what do you think that was about, or kind of what your experience was with that? Because I think that's really important.
Yeah. That's a powerful question. I think when we go to trauma or something really bad, again, our mind, well, some people, not all people, but in my experience, shuts down. Shuts down in the sense of, you just feel like this heaviness. So for me, I felt a lot of heaviness and darkness and almost depression like symptoms when my baby died. And when you're in that state, your mind isn't functioning well. You're not
Mm,
able to even articulate
mm,
what you want to say. All you know is inwards, you are feeling heavy.
mm-hmm,
And
mm,
so that um, um, season, like you said, it's almost like you don't know what to say. And if you think of David in the Bible, I
mm.
look at the Psalms and I see it as a journal. I see it as David's journal.
Oh
He talked
yes,
about,
absolutely.
yeah, exactly. He talked about
Yeah,
all his emotions when he was sad, he wrote it all down.
yeah, yeah, absolutely.
So when I look at David's life and I see how he would express himself and say, "My soul, why are you downcast?" I
Mm,
can imagine him writing that down. And then
yeah,
he answered himself, it's like, we will praise the Lord, right? So that was him. And again, you can almost see that two-way dialogue between him and God. So one thing I talk about in my book is two-way journaling, where you are expressing yourself in writing to God, and you're hearing him in your mind, because now that you've written your thoughts down, you're almost hearing the reply, and then you're
mm,
writing that down. You're almost like in a
mm,
flow. And then
mm.
you go back and read what you've written, and you're like, wow, where did
Yeah,
that come from? Right?
yeah,
So
yeah.
I think trauma does something to us where, again, lack of focus, lack of concentration, you're not even in that frame of mind to articulate your thoughts clearly.
Mm-mm.
But and again, like I said, in the initial days, I couldn't write, I couldn't do anything. But
Mm.
I knew that journaling was going to help. So I
Yeah.
got myself to a point where I didn't have to write a lot of things. It could just be one line. I am
Mm.
sad today.
Yeah.
And that was,
Oh
me
wow.
just acknowledging how I feel.
Yeah.
Oh God, why did this happen? So I didn't have to write. It's not about writing long notes or writing anything flowery. It's none
Mm.
of that. It's just, this is how I'm feeling right now. And I want to be able to articulate it on paper. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
So a few things come to mind. Number one is I want to kind of let people know, and I just went to a conference about this last month or so, and it really helped me that your feelings are not, a lot of times we feel bad when we feel bad, you
Yeah.
know. You know, especially as Christian, because you feel like you should be strong, you should
Yeah.
trust God, you shouldn't be
Yeah.
going anything, and that's really not healthy.
Hmm.
God
Yeah.
gave us emotions for a reason.
Exactly.
Emotions help us process what we're
Yeah.
going through,
Yeah.
and when you stuff them or deny them or you get upset about being upset, you're actually not letting your emotions do what they were created to do.
Exactly. Yeah.
And so if you're feeling bad to the point where you can't articulate your thoughts, you can't pray, it's okay.
It's
Like,
okay.
yeah.
It's okay.
And you
Yeah.
just go step by step, day at a time,
Yeah.
and until you get to a point where you can, even if it's like what you said was so powerful,
Mm.
even if you just write one thing, I'm
Yeah.
sad today, like,
Mm.
because the thing about us as spiritual beings and physical bodies, we need to manifest what is in us. That's
Yeah.
what we're created to
Yeah.
do. So when you hold it in, it's almost like you're constipated,
Yeah.
and you
Exactly.
have to get it out. You have to get
Yes.
it
Get
out
it out.
somehow.
Yeah.
Some people get it out in the wrong way, but you have to get it out. And so
Yeah.
even if you just, like you say, write one or two things or
Yeah.
anything, and then as time goes, you will see, and
Yeah.
basically what you're saying, as time you were able to
Hmm.
express a lot more. I
Yeah.
have definitely been in those places where I could not pray, so I
Yeah.
totally understand. And
Hmm.
it kind of, to me, goes back to what we're saying about the mind,
Yeah.
because it's really a humongous processing computer, and sometimes
Exactly.
and it gets overwhelmed. Like
Hmm.
when you're
Hmm.
going through stuff you don't understand, you have your feelings there, you have loss, like it becomes way too
Yeah.
much for
And
you
it
to go
shuts down.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. It's like, up, I can't do this right now.
Yeah.
So, but over
Exactly.
time, and journaling definitely can help you with that. I
Yeah.
don't, if it was not for journaling, personally, me,
Yeah.
I don't know if I would have made it this far in
Mm.
life and in my Christian walk, because it
Hmm.
has definitely been an outlet for me to get those things out
Yeah.
that were, really hard for me to
Hmm.
express, to understand.
Yeah.
And like you say, then you go back and read it,
Hmm.
and it just builds your faith, and then you
Yeah.
see how far you've come and stuff like that. So big fan of journaling. So
I
like
can tell.
absolutely, yeah.
And
Yeah.
what you said about keeping those feelings in, because I mean, one of the so I wear several hats. So I've talked about the coaching hat. I'm also a grief recovery specialist as well, and it is so key about pinpointing how acknowledging how we feel,
Yeah.
because that's what
Yeah.
society doesn't let us do.
Yeah.
Society, friends, family, they tell you to just stuff it in, don't
Mm.
cry, don't be sad, be grateful. Be grateful at least you have three other children. I heard that,
Yeah.
be
Yeah.
grateful,
Wow.
da da da. You hear all this Christianese, and then
Yeah.
that doesn't allow you to express yourself. That's where journaling comes in. I don't
Yeah.
need to go talk to another human necessarily,
Yeah.
especially when I don't really understand what I am going through. But I
Mm.
can get in my journal and converse with the Holy Spirit. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Wow, wow, wow. And so I like that you're adding that layer of conversing with the Holy Spirit, because you can write to get your feelings out, but when 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 you understand that there's a higher power and you
Yeah.
get to that place of release, he's, as long as you're acknowledging him. I haven't ever journaled and God did not respond. It's like
Mm-hmm.
once I
Mm-hmm.
get to that deep place where I'm open enough
Yes.
to talk about it, he always comes in and like you said, converses
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
with me. And so, and again, I really like that you pointed out David, because absolutely David was journaling. He
Yep.
probably never expected that thousands of years later people would be reading what he
True.
was writing. And then, just dealing with our emotions in general and understanding that there's a use for them, a purpose for them. And so journaling really helps that. So absolutely, like
Mm.
I'm yeah. So now let's talk about your book, because you talk about so your book is not a journal. It
No,
teaches you how to
how to,
journal. So
yes.
can you go into a little bit of like some of the pointers that it gives you for journaling?
Yeah. So, like I'd mentioned before, I started from the back, which was to create journals, and
Okay.
it was well received by the women in my community. But I found out that some other women were still struggling with the concept. So I thought, what, why not write a book on almost like a beginner's guide, right,
Okay.
for someone who doesn't know much about journaling, or even someone who's journaled in the past and they've kind of like dropped it and I'm too busy, I don't have time for this, or someone who just wants to know more about journaling, right? So
Mm-hmm.
basically, I share my own journaling story, how I started, some of what I shared already, my
Mm-hmm.
journaling story, some of the benefits that I receive from journaling. What When should I journal? Is there a particular time to journal? For me, I tend to journal during my quiet time because that way I can easily incorporate it. Some people find that they journal better in the evenings, some early in the morning. So find what works for you. There is no set time of the day.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I also talk about what are the different things you can write in your journal. You need to make it yours. With some of the ones that I've created, my first journal is I created a gratitude journal that allows you to put three things you're grateful for, write down your prayer requests, and then your praise reports. So there are prompts for that because I think
Okay.
sometimes people think, okay, they have this beautiful journal with blank pages and they're like, I don't know what to write. So
Yeah.
the journals that I create or that I've created, there are prompts in there just to get your mind thinking. The I also share more about what two-way journaling is, conversing with the Holy Spirit, as we said.
Mm.
And I think the best part for me in the book is I share the experiences of six other women who journal and from different walks of life and how they got into journaling, how they found how it's helped them in their own lives and their advice to someone who wants to start journaling. I decided to do that because sometimes, when you write a book or you're shouting on the roof about this concept, it's good to get other perspectives to see that, look, I'm not the only one who journals. There are
Yeah.
other
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
women in
Yeah.
the world who do this, and women from different ages. One of them is a grandmother, some of them are young adults. And so just to get all Christian women, just to get their perspective. And then I share some, so if people have some pushback, oh, so what if someone reads, what if my fear is, because I did a survey before I wrote the book, and a fear a lot of people had
There's
was
somebody reading it.
someone will read my journal, right?
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
we talk about, okay, how can you walk around that, and all. Yeah, so it's a very small book, I must say, like 100 pages, but
Okay.
powerful. Well, from the
Yeah.
feedback that I've gotten so far, powerful
Yeah.
short
Yeah.
book. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. Wow. This is all the years I've been journaling, it never crossed my mind to write a book about journaling. Yeah. So I really think, and it's so useful, and
Yeah.
it's so needed because
Hmm.
we, as you know, the way God wired us to be, we need that release. We need to be
Yes,
able to sometimes connect with Him on a deeper level than we're able to, on a regular basis. Journaling
definitely.
provides that. So I mean, it's just like such a wonderful idea, but very
Yeah.
simple, at
Exactly.
the
That's what I
same.
love about
Yeah,
it. It's so
yeah,
simple yet so powerful.
yeah,
And I
yeah.
would love, my desire is that a lot more women know about this secret, this simple secret that can
Yeah,
change their lives. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Wow. So now we talked about the journaling and how you got into that, but let's go into your coaching because this is connected to the coaching services that you
Yeah.
offer.
Hmm.
You're a productivity and leadership coach,
Yeah.
and so can you talk a little bit about your coaching business
Hmm.
and how that's connected to the journaling and just anything else you want to share about your business?
Right. So, like I mentioned before, we coach Christian women, and we've been doing that for the past 10 years. And so I think let me share a bit more about the leadership side of things. Now, when
Okay.
we talk about leadership, most people just think, oh, leading people at work or in the corporate work, in the
Yeah.
corporate space. But it's actually more around leading yourself, right?
Okay.
Leading
Okay.
self leadership. Because
Okay.
if you lead yourself, you can lead others. But
Okay.
what most people are trying to do is lead others and then not, they're not
Yeah.
growing. But guess what? Like John Maxwell, one of my mentors, says, um, everything falls or rises on leadership, right?
Mm,
So it starts
mm.
with leading yourself. So one of the things we also teach or coach our women on is on leadership. We do a lot of John Maxwell work as well. Um, the retreats that we run, we actually have one coming up. We have two coming up. So a physical retreat coming up in the UK end of November, and then we've got a virtual one coming up in December. And what we do during those retreats is to take time out to plan for the following year. So it's an end
Okay.
of year retreat, giving women the opportunity to write down their vision, write down what they think God is calling them to do. Because another issue that many women, or one of the struggles that Christian women have, is they're trying to juggle so many things
Mm.
and they're not prioritizing, and so they're overwhelmed. You
Yeah.
keep hearing, I'm overwhelmed, I'm overwhelmed. But guess what? If you're overwhelmed, it means you're doing too much. That's what it
Yeah,
means.
exactly.
You're not
Exactly.
prioritizing. So we basically do this retreats to help you prioritize and say, okay, this is what I want to focus on. Yes, I'm multi-talented, I'm multi-gifted, I have all these various things that I'm doing, but what season am I in? What is God
Yeah.
calling me to do in this season? So that is another thing we do. With the virtual retreats, what some of the women do, which I love, is that they actually of course, you can do it from the comfort of your home. But what some people is check themselves into a hotel, no children, no husband, just time, and that's another thing that I preach. Take time out for yourself. If you
Mm.
can go on either group retreats or personal retreats, do that and go journal at those retreats, because
Yeah.
it will make such a huge difference to your productivity, to your growth, to your to your output, because
Mm.
you are not in that hustle and bustle mode where you're just in and out, and yeah, okay, how do I make it work? But when you take time out,
Mm.
ooh, it makes a whole lot of difference. Yeah.
Yeah, it does. And it's very easy for us as mothers to do that because so many people need us, and we're
Yes.
naturally nurturers, but we forget that we need that stuff too very easily.
Exactly. Yeah.
And
We
so
don't take care of ourselves,
yeah,
and then we
yeah.
run down. We're feeling burnt out. We're snapping at everyone. So
Yeah, yeah. And the bad part about it is that I don't know if this is society or sin nature or what, but then we actually sometimes feel guilty about making time out for ourselves and taking care
yep.
of ourselves. And so
Yeah.
so it's very important to separate those things and understand that we need that time too. So
Yes.
absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
you can't serve from an empty cup if
Yeah.
you're not filled up yourself. So what are you pouring out of? What are you pouring into others if you are not filled? So we need to take time out for ourselves, and then we can better take care of our families. We can better do our businesses well, our careers, whatever other roles that we have, if
Yeah.
we take care of ourselves first. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that's really powerful what you said about knowing what season you're in, because
Yeah.
as a mother, it's a lot of times, especially if you have multiple kids, like I have five, and I believe you have
Three.
three
Yeah.
with one, yeah.
Yeah.
And so it's very easy to try to bring our personal stuff onto the plate, and then it's too much just
Yeah.
because you're already doing so much other
Exactly.
stuff. Yeah, and so it's really important to understand what season you're in. I think that's really powerful because a lot of times you're so busy just trying to do and do and do
Yeah.
that you don't ask yourself, well, is it not time for this, or is it time for
I
something
think. Yeah.
else, or things like that?
Yeah.
So I think having somebody to really be a sounding board for that and give you some
Yes.
spiritual guidance on, okay, what
Yeah.
season am I actually in,
Yeah.
can make a world of difference. Like,
Exactly.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And that's where coaching comes in, isn't it? Where you have a coach who can walk you through that. Because some people are like, why I don't need a coach. What do I need a coach for?
Yeah, yeah,
But a
yeah.
coach helps you. A coach can help you look at all of what you're doing, help you, bring out the answers from within you, because it is within you. But they can
Exactly.
help you pull those answers out to help you prioritize based on the seasons that you're in. Yeah.
Yeah. And so with this, I know you have the virtual retreats,
Yeah.
you have your book, you also do personal coaching, and you also do group coaching. So can you
Yes.
talk a little bit about those two?
Right. So with the group coaching, we run that through our Super Working Mom Academy platform, and so it's like a monthly subscription based platform where we're not on. We have like our own platform on an app called Mighty Networks. I don't know if you've ever heard of them.
Mm-hmm.
And so basically, each month we either have a master class where we are diving into a particular topic that relates to a Christian woman or Christian mother. So our theme for this year has been around flourishing. So we've
Okay.
been looking at how to flourish in our mental health, emotional health, finances, all of those different aspects.
Mm,
And sometimes we get guest speakers to come share with us because we don't know it all. And I think
mm,
one of the best ways to do this kind of work that we do is to collaborate. So we get
yeah.
other guest speakers to come in to come share. Sometimes I would run an extra class for the ladies to just coach them through a particular topic. And so that's kind of what we do in the group setting. And our members have access to all the past master classes. We have
Okay.
content on there as well. We have our signature program, which you go through over a period of 6 months,
Okay.
from learning um, more about discovering or rediscovering your purpose. Now, and then moving on from there, you learn how to maximize your time. What are the strategies you need to put in place and the tools you need to put in place? And then, how do I have this big goal or this big dream that God has given me? Our next program on there is manifest your dreams. And so,
Mm,
we walk you through that. God has given me these big dreams. What do I do? How do I start? Our
mm,
course will show you that. And then, lastly, um, as part of our signature program, we also um, talk about growth, your own growth. How do I
mm,
grow? My personal growth. And so when people walk through that 6 months, which is, when you join us, you walk through the 6 month program, the transformation that our ladies have experienced is so amazing. It's tangible. You can actually see it. You can see someone who
mm,
started in January and by July, it's like the whole brand new person. And even
mm.
their spouses are like, what is that? What are you doing? What's going on with you? I've had some of my women come back to say, my husband is asking me questions like, you've changed. There's something different about you. So
Yeah.
you can almost see the ripple effect on your marriage, on your parenting, on your job or your work. And people are asking you, there's something different about you. What are you doing differently? And I give all glory to God, but we have all of those things in place to help our women. So on the group, that's what we do on the group side. On the one-to-one side, it's you have a specific project you want to work on. Maybe you want to write a book, or you want to transition from career to business, or whatever it is that a dream that you want to manifest. I walk you
Yeah.
through that in the one-to-one setting over most times over a period of 90 days. I tend to work in 90 days.
Okay.
Um, so but again, if some people might say in the group setting, all I need is the program and I can walk through that myself, but
Okay. Okay.
extra help as
Okay.
well. Yeah.
Wow, it sounds like an amazing program. I'm excited about it. I mean, just to know because I know so many women, they struggle with these type of things, and it's just nice to know that there's some help with that,
Yeah.
And I mean, anybody who wants to downplay the significance of a coach, I don't know what kind of life they've been living because we all need help. So I
Yep.
don't know, like
I have a coach as well. So
yeah, yeah. So I mean, if you've come to a place in your life where you don't need help, like you should be coaching, like
exactly.
So yeah. I mean, it sounds really good. Your book, and so for anybody wanting to learn more about Detola and her coaching services, her virtual retreat, her books, you can visit the website below under the
Yep.
page is going across the screen.
Mhm.
You can look above this post for a link to sign up for the virtual retreat if you're interested in doing that. And I mean, I think that's it. I mean, it's
Yeah.
just you kind of got me excited a little bit here.
I
I feel
love
like
it.
yeah, I feel like I want to talk more, but we need to go ahead and wrap up here.
I
So,
know.
is there anything else you'd like to add before we finish here today?
Right. Oh, thank you. I've thoroughly enjoyed this. And I just wanted to say I'll be happy to give your audience a special code to get because I know how things are, the cost of living and all of these things
Yeah.
to get, a percentage off the virtual retreat if they wanted to join. So I'll be
Okay.
happy to do that. But
Okay.
again, thank you for this opportunity. And all my books are available on Amazon if anyone wants to check that out. And I just wanted to leave a word of encouragement for anyone who's listening and feeling I'm all over the place. I don't know what I'm doing. Is to just, take time out. I know you're already busy. I know that life is already chaotic, but I promise you, take time out to just be still in his presence And I know that He will download things to you because He's speaking all the time. The Lord is speaking all the time, but we are not taking time out to listen.
Yeah,
And so
exactly.
take time
Exactly.
to be. We are human beings, not human doings. Take time to be, take time to journal. Just write, Lord, what do you need me to know? And I promise you would hear Him answer you. So that's what I want to end with.
Yeah, that's great. And I think a great way to wrap things up. So, everybody be encouraged. Check out Detola and everything that she has to offer. And make sure you tune in next time for another episode of About My Father's Business Thursdays. Thank you so much for tuning in. Be blessed.
Thank you.
Bye.